Good morning. We're now at Raymond LaBoyd Correctional Facility. My name is Pete Freeman. I will be the acting chair today. To my right is Ms. Renatza. To my left is Ms. Stapleton. We're here today with the staff at Evolve to introduce themselves, please.
Warden Nikki
Raymond
Shinbear.
LaBoyd.
It's okay. Warden Nikki Shinbear.
Deputy Warden Stephen Morlawn.
Raven Heath Classification.
Melissa Joshua Records.
Okay, thank y'all for having us today. We're here today for the hearing on Cedric Haney. Mr. Haney, what is your name and DOC number?
Cedric Haney, 391923.
Okay, that's you then. Okay, Mr. Haney, you are a third-class offender. You had a parole date of 2/7/22. You have a good time date of 6/24/59 and a full term date of 3/4/2070. You were sentenced to 72 years for armed robbery, attempted second-degree murder, and criminal armed robbery. So I want to just state on your behalf, you'll have Kerry Myers from the Parole Project speaking, Irma Haney Shields, your mother will be speaking, Tomika Armwood Lee, your sister, she'll be speaking, and Micah Sloan, your attorney from the Parole Project, will also be speaking. So we will get to those people at the correct time. First off, though, Mr. Haney, I need to tell the board why you are in jail and why do you think you're ready to get out today?
Thank you. First I'd like to apologize to the victim's family, my family, and society as a whole. I realized my actions, the harm my action caused, not just physically, but psychologically. I'm in here because on March 5th, 1998, a friend and I decided to rob a bank. Going into the bank, I made, I rationalized my actions. I told myself nobody was gonna get hurt. Me and my co-defendant, we went into the bank. I hopped across the counter. I was getting the money. He was in the line. He had a gun I had given him. The plan was not to shoot the gun. He shot the gun. I panicked. When he fired the gun, I hopped back across the counter, went over there to where he was standing over somebody, seen it was the shot, and after that, I panicked and we fled, we got in the car, and we drove off. 3 blocks later, we was apprehended. Since my incarceration, I got my GED in 2003. I followed that up by getting a graphic arts diploma from Louisiana Technical College in 2007. I followed that up with another diploma in culinary arts in 2014. I had a narrow view of what change was and what rehabilitation was. I thought education was synonymous with change. So I pursued education and I realized I wasn't addressing the underlying problem that I had, which was my drug addiction. It took me a long time to admit that I had a drug problem. And then when I did admit it, by me not really understanding drug addiction, I thought I could treat it on my own. And I was wrong. In my last hearing, and I'd like to thank Judge Marabella. He asked me, do you have a drug problem? And I admitted, yes. And he asked me, well, why haven't you taken a drug problem? What you gonna do about it? And I said, discipline. And he told me, he gave me some advice that I took back with me, even though I was denied. He told me drug addiction is a disease and you can't treat it on your own. You need help. So that's what I did. I was transferred a week later after I got denied. I was transferred here. And I immediately signed up for the classes. Living in Balance, I took Living in Balance phase 1 and phase 2. And I learned something about myself. I learned what addiction is. I learned that I couldn't fight it on my own. Even though I had admitted that I had a drug problem, it took me a while to accept that I was powerless against alcohol and drugs. And that was the first step. Admitting, that was the problem. And the second step was, understanding that it took a higher power to help me with my addiction. Change really came to me when I had to do a moral inventory. And when I did a moral inventory, I realized that all the bad things I'd done, and it teaches us in NAA is to admit to yourself, to God, and to another human being the exact natures of your wrongs. And I saw the exact nature of my wrong. Knowing it and seeing it was two different things. In my last role here, I seen it. I seen my mama break down crying. I seen my sister break down crying. And that affected me. I had to realize that I had caused all that pain. My younger sister was 5 years old when I left the street. She's now 32 years old with a 15-year-old daughter. She graduated from high school, got married, all the things I was supposed to be there as a brother, I wasn't there for. And it was because of my selfishness and my addiction. My sister that's gonna speak later on, she was 17 years old. She since graduated from high school, went to college, got married, had kids. All the things that I was supposed to be there for, I wasn't there. I wasn't there for. Understood through victim impact that for a long time, I thought since nobody was physically hurt or nobody was shot, that nobody was hurt. Victim impact showed me it showed me that you can hurt people in more than just physical ways. You can hurt them psychologically and you can hurt them mentally. Now I understand, I put myself in a situation. When that went on, they didn't know how it was going to turn out. They didn't know if they was going to ever see their families. And I understand that. I understand the hurt that I caused. Since then, I've taken, like I said, I've taken AA.
Right. Okay, let me ask you a few questions then. All right, first off, Warden, any comments from the institution?
Yes, sir. He's been with us since 2022. He's had a few write-ups in his record, but nothing since 2020. Like he said, he got his GED in 2003 at LSP, and he's done a lot of programming since he's been here. He's done Inside Out Dads, Nurturing Parenting, Victim Impact, Cage Your Age, phase 1 and 2 of Living in Balance, and he's currently enrolled in Moral Compass. He's a member of Strive, and he's a member of our Juvenile Awareness Program. And it does seem like he has a good support system on the outside if he is granted parole today.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. One last question for y'all, Warden. I see he's medium custody and he has foul work history. Is that while he's been there or not?
Yes, sir. He works in the kitchen right now, and he does have some comments from some supervisors that he does a good job in working in the kitchen for us.
He has comments that are good, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all I want to know. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Haney, who fired the shot?
A co-defendant.
Okay, because the arrest report says you fired the shot. And I saw where your attorney also said he fired the shot. So I'm trying to get that straight in my head. So the arrest report has it wrong. You sure it was your?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I understand. The gun was mine. I had given him the gun. He did fire the gun. When we was arrested, after we was arrested, we confessed to the federal agent. And when our confession, he admitted that he had the gun.
And if I
All right.
can help clarify, I was able to review a transcript of a pretrial motions hearing in which both a Baker Police Department lieutenant testified and also an FBI detective. And they do explain that although initially they had identified him as the shooter, that in fact the arrest report was incorrect and it was his co-defendant who had confessed to also being the person who shot the weapon.
Okay, we wanted to get that straight. Okay, you have a lot of opposition. The DA, the sheriff, the chief are opposed. You have adamant victim opposition, which we've explained. You expect that. I mean, you know, you did definitely affect their lives. Your history was bad as far as your DBs, but you hadn't had one since 2020, and you've taken all these classes. What was all of the contraband, the number ones in 19 and 20?
The ones was cell phones. You know,
Yeah.
three of the ones was cell phone, and one was for prescription medication that wasn't mine.
Okay. You have, well, we're gonna let them speak too. Okay, let's hear from, Mr. Kerry Myers.
Good morning. Kerry Myers here with Louisiana Parole Project to let the board know that Cedric Haney has been accepted as a client in our program. We accepted Mr. Haney essentially based on, I think, what you have just seen in his initial dialogue. Mr. Haney just impressed us with his education. He's got certificates in graphic arts and culinary, his community service with juvenile awareness, his commitment to his sobriety, and his support system. He's been incarcerated now for 27 years. He's obviously going to be coming into a world that's different. And Parole Project, through the transitional program in phase 1, he'll get the necessary mentoring and case management that'll help him reestablish things like financial literacy, social norms. We'll make sure he's connected to his health care. He'll have an evaluation about substance abuse through our social workers. And I know that in speaking with Mr. Haney through this preparation, he'll follow up the recommendations based on that. We're prepared to offer him, again, the full complement of our services. He has once he would leave Parole Project, he'll be in the Zachary area living with his sister. He has an extremely strong support system, and Parole Project obviously will continue to provide case management at a minimum of 1 year. So we'd ask this board to consider Mr. Haney, when he was denied last time, had two routes to take. He could have spiraled, which happens, or he could have taken that as he told you as incentive, and that's exactly what he did. He took those words from Mr. Marabella and he took them to heart, and he proceeded to do the things that he was asked to do. So we believe in Mr. Haney, and we ask this board to grant us parole today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Myers. We'll also hear from Irma Haney Shields. Yes, ma'am. Just get up behind the podium, please, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Irma Haney Shields. Debbie's mother. My son, he did go down the wrong path, but the time we talk on the phone and we communicate with each other, he has shown me as a mother, how hurt I was. Yeah, that's me. He showed me that he could make a change. He was taught the right way. The kids, young and hanging other people, their friends influence them more than the parents can. As the parents, a lot of parents, we can begin to be here for our children. But when they got friends, it's gonna say, oh, you can do this, you can do that. Sometimes it's outweighed what parents say. But that has been remorse for years on what he had done. And we talk, like I said, we talk. And he's shown me, that he will be a better. He is a better. He will function more if you will give him a chance to get out there and show what he can do. And I'm gonna be on him. I'm gonna stay on myself. Because I do never want to see, I don't want this pain on nobody. Because it hurts. Especially when you have done the best that you can with that child. I got 3, it's my child here, and I got 2 other ones. And we all have support system. I have a sister that's a minister, she has an organization out there. We all get support. We got aunties out there. We are there for you. And I can say to TJ right now, I love you, your family love you. You will stay positive. I'm going to stay on you.
Okay.
If I got to be here 24/7, I live in Tennessee, I will do that.
Okay.
And I just thank you all for sharing this opportunity with me because I have real bad health issues. I just want to see my child.
Okay.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, next, Tamika. Good morning.
I'm former pleading, his older sister. Yeah. TJ has really been like my motivator, in spite of his situation, he's always been positive, you know, through it all. Like I got 3 boys. My oldest 15, didn't know the head, but when we visit him, TJ always tells him like, dude, what you doing? You know, you watch the company you keep. You know, always make good decisions. You know, you always got to be a leader, not a follower. You know, so he's always just speaking positive. You know, and even with me, when I found out 8 years and I had just support for me. My heart was feeling, you know, I didn't really want to tell him because I know he was going to worry he feels feel right. And he kept saying, sis, we in this together, you know, don't, you know, I'm saying, well, you know, job, I said the word. He was like, you know, you got this, you know, so he has always been very positive despite his situation. You know, if he's granted parole, he's gonna live with me, you know, I want him to live with me because he knows out of all the siblings, I'm a tough one. I'm fair, but I'm firm. Been doing this for 20 years with my profession, and you know, my husband and I get up and go to work, he's gonna go to work. You know, they have a job lined up for him. I see he got his associate's degree, culinary arts. I work in DOC reentry in my job, so I did a lot of networking. So people always spoke highly of my brother. So there's a lady named Chef Celeste. She has her own business in Baton Rouge, and she knows his qualifications. And she said, "Yeah, I'll hire him if he's ready for those." So he does have a good support system. He's gonna have transportation, whatever it takes. I'm gonna make sure he abides by it. You know, he know I'm a tough cookie, so I just want to make sure he's doing the right things. And just stay positive. You know, keep God first. And I think I know for sure in my heart, he's going to do well. Yes, we don't have no kids of his own, but my 3 boys look up to him. You know, we visit him frequently. And like I tell him, I'm used to patting down people and stuff like that in my job, but to go there and get patted out sometimes, it's like something has to change, you know. But I wish you well, TJ, and I love you, and just know I got your back. We'll be here for you.
All right, thank you. All right, and last we'll hear from Ms. Micah Sloan, your attorney from the Parole Project. Ms. Sloan.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. As I wrote in my brief to this board, Mr. Haney is a model for the rehabilitation that's possible through the DOC system. He's an excellent example of an offender who's not only a suitable candidate for parole, but he's someone who, if granted, can make a real positive difference in our community. To be honest, Mr. Haney made my job as his attorney very easy because of how much hard work he himself had put into proving that he is not the young man that he was when he entered prison, and that he's prepared to make up for his past harms however he can. Mr. Haney may be the first and only client to tell me that he was glad that he was denied at his last hearing. He's glad, he told me, because it gave him more time to change, an opportunity to take a closer look at who he was and what he needed to do to be successful. Since his last hearing, he's taken deliberate steps to address his shortcomings and ensure that he never returns to the behaviors of his past. He took to heart the advice that the board gave him. He got to work, and he comes before you today as the best version of himself yet. As you've heard and you will hear from him, he's very aware and insightful about the past harm that he's caused. What led him to reckless behaviors, his personal path of redemption, and his realistic plan to attempt to make it up to the community that he feels he let down. Mr. Haney was only 21 when he agreed with his older co-defendant to participate in a bank robbery. He confessed to the crime, and when he did, he told the detective he confessed to that as a part of their plan, they would make sure that nobody got physically hurt. He was not armed during the offense, and he was shocked when his co-defendant fired a single shot inside the bank. Before he left with the money, Mr. Haney even checked on the people inside the bank to make sure that nobody had been hurt. Although he had the sensibility as a 21-year-old to be concerned for the physical safety of others, today he has a profound understanding of how his actions caused emotional harm and trauma, not only to the people in the bank, but to their families, to his family, and his community. He uses that understanding to motivate his own self-improvement and service to others. Although in the eyes of the law, Mr. Haney was an adult at the time of his offense, science tells us that neuropsychologically, he was still a child. His brain was not fully developed, and he still possessed those impulsive, reckless decision-making characteristics of a child. This, of course, does not excuse his poor decision-making, but it is important to consider that these are characteristics that he has grown out of the way most people do. Before you today is a 48-year-old man who has not only grown up, but has a mature insight into how he has changed, the path that led him here, and the tools he must use in order to continue to be successful. At age 15, Mr. Haney ran away from home to escape constant physical abuse from his stepfather. He was afraid to return home, and without a positive adult role model in his life, he sought out acceptance from his peers. And it was his peers who introduced him to drugs and alcohol. He felt abandoned and hopeless and depressed, and young Mr. Haney turned to intoxication because it provided him with a temporary escape from those feelings. He was self-medicating. As it often happens, Mr. Haney's substance use and lack of guidance led him down a road of criminal behavior. Sadly, this is not a story that is unsimilar to many folks who find themselves in Mr. Haney's position, as this board is aware. However, Mr. Haney set out to be a mentor so that he could use his experience to help young people facing what he faced and encourage them down a positive path, a drug-free path, a crime-free path. He strives to be the role model, the positive adult figure, the inspiration that he wishes that he had when he was young. As a very active member of the Juvenile Awareness Program and through his training in the Moral Compass course, he's well prepared to be just that. He has already made an impact on justice-impacted youth, but he hopes to have an opportunity to engage with youth who are on a negative path before harm is caused and before they come in contact with the justice system if he's given a chance of parole. His true passion and goal is to work with youth to improve public safety in our community. Today, he is sober. He attends AA/NA twice a week. He's determined to remain sober because he knows that that is necessary in order to achieve his goals. Before I had even met Mr. Haney, he had already reached out to a church in the Zachary community to find where he could continue to go to AA and NA. As you can see from his packet, and as you've heard during his incarceration, he's earned several degrees from Baton Rouge Community College, Louisiana Technical College, the Capital Area Technical College, and he's earned credits toward an associate's degree. He's taken every DOC-led course that he's eligible for, including parenting courses, even though he's not a parent, just so he could be the best uncle to his nieces and nephews. He's very lucky to have a loving family, as you've seen, particularly his sister Tamika, who is his residency plan. As you've heard, she's a veteran deputy of the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office, and she's a reentry specialist. Therefore, there's no doubt that if released, Mr. Haney will be closely monitored and very well supported. He's secured 2 potential employers, identified multiple organizations where he'd like to volunteer. He has an aunt who is a pastor and a loving girlfriend in his community who will also help to keep him on track. If for any reason this board is not comfortable with having Mr. Haney return to the East Baton Rouge Parish, his brother has also opened his home to him. He lives in Arkansas, and his mother also opens her home to him as well. She lives in Tennessee. As you heard from Mr. Myers, Mr. Haney will also have the support of the Louisiana Parole Project, which includes our social work team who will work with Mr. Haney to develop and help him maintain a sobriety plan. Mr. Haney has done just about everything he can do to show this board and this community that he is remorseful and rehabilitated. He is an educated, honest, and responsible adult who is bound to make our community a safer place if he's given the opportunity to be released. To continue to incarcerate Mr. Haney would serve no meaningful purpose. Based on his genuine remorse, his exhibited rehabilitation, and his excellent reentry plan, I ask that this board please grant Mr. Haney the opportunity to serve the remainder of his sentence on parole. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I was assigned your case, Mr. Haney, but I've asked most of the questions I wanted to ask. Got a little bit ahead of myself. So I'm gonna turn it over to my colleagues if they have any questions.
I just have a couple, Mr. Haney. One thing I made a note in as I was reviewing your case, to be sure to ask you this question: what took you so long for programs? But you've answered that, and I'm so glad to hear that you took what Judge Marabella said to you 3 years ago to heart, and you took action on his suggestions. So Tell me then, what is your sobriety plan should you be released? What is the plan that you have in your head?
The first thing, parole project, I already reached out to Zachary United Methodist Church that's in the neighborhood where my sister stay at, and they have NAA's sober group. First thing I'm doing is go there, find me a sponsor, you know. And one thing I learned is surround yourself with a positive support system. You know, I'm in JP and I speak about having a positive support, you know, people around you. And that's my plan. I understand that I'm open about my addiction struggles. And for a long time I wasn't. And that led me into, you know, harmful actions. But the people I surrounded myself with, they're all positive, they all know my struggles. So it'll help me stay on track.
Okay. You know, we see a lot of people who have that plan to involve themselves with AA. And then for some reason, they think they got it after a little while and then they quit going and then we see them again. Just keep that in mind.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I got. Okay.
Sir, as I was looking over your adult record, I noticed that you had a very violent history before the bank robbery, like you were saying. And I heard you say that you had the gun, but you didn't expect anybody to be shot. And I was looking back and I see this is all just months before the bank robbery, okay? In 96, you had an aggravated assault, and then you had an attempted, which probably was the same thing, attempted first-degree murder, illegal possession of stolen things, resisting arrest, illegal carrying of a weapon. That was all in 96. And then you had an attempted aggravated battery. You were sentenced to 18 months, and in 4 of 96, unauthorized entry of an inhabited dwelling, hit and run, burglary, battery on a police officer, possession of marijuana. You got a plea bargain. It was 18 months. That's 96. So you were in jail for a period of time. I don't know how long it was. How long were you in jail for all of that?
9 months.
9 months.
I received an 18-month sentence.
Right. You received an 18-month sentence. You served 9 months. You get out. And I guess within a year is the armed robbery, attempted it's the bank robbery. So it's a violent history going back to 96. And then you had some jail time in between, and then you go back to the bank robbery. So it wasn't like a one-time thing or anything like that. And I have a comment from the ADA, and his comments are, you got a plea bargain, which was substantial, really, from what they really charged you with everything. And the offender was sentenced, this is the ADA Caraway at the 19th Judicial District. And he says the offender was sentenced pursuant to a negotiated plea agreement and should serve at least half of his sentence before being considered for release. So I did want to mention those because he did give the verbiage of how he actually felt about this. And I don't have any more questions.
Okay, panel ready to vote. Okay, Mr. Haney, Ms. Stapleton's right. I mean, your previous history was real bad. And, you know, and I looked and your drug problem, I think, was the reason that your previous history was so bad. You know, you was hopping around from place to place. You wasn't living at a stable residence, and you were listening to older people. But your interview today was excellent. Real good interview, great family support. Thank y'all for coming. And my vote today, I think your sister's gonna keep you straight. I really do. So, but I also want to err on the side of caution. So my vote today is going to be conditionally paroled upon completion of a long-term DOC substance abuse program. We will make that recommendation. We will get you into that program. If you pass that program, on my vote, you'll be released at that time. but I'm just one vote, so I'm gonna turn it over to my colleague, Ms. Renatza.
Mr. Haney, I thought you did a good job today on your interview. You were very well prepared. I agree with everything that's been said about your history, but I think that you're finally on the right track. My vote today would be likewise to grant your parole after you complete a long-term substance abuse program, and then you go to the parole project for
Absolutely.
that plan. And then, a special condition after release, you have to follow whatever recommendations the parole project recommends for your aftercare. And then this ought to be easy for you because you do the JAP. I want you to do community service speaking to at-risk youth, at least 6 hours a quarter.
Love to, love to.
Love.
Ms. Stapleton?
Sir, I agree. I know you got strong family support and they've got wonderful ideas that I think is going to help you out a lot to be successful. But I also agree with law enforcement and I agree with the DA. I mean, your original sentence was substantial and you had a substantial violent criminal history, even leading up to the bank robbery. It wasn't just a one-time lapse of judgment. And so today my vote is going to be denied.
Okay, we good. Okay, Mr. Haney, you got 2 votes to grant, 1 vote not to grant. Unfortunately, you have to have a unanimous vote. So today your parole has been denied. Please don't put your head down. And we're gonna try to get you to that Steve Hall. So when you finish, you can reapply.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.